It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 podcast right here on SoonerScoop.com. The entire gang is here. Everybody is here. It has been quite an eventful week so far. It's just Tuesday. We're doing the pod a little bit early because I've got some radio obligations tomorrow. All these 68 team giveaway things. I've got to be at one of those. So anyway, we are here. George Stoy has brought chaos with him. We've discovered. I mean, things have just been going haywire ever since you arrived.
Yeah, SoonerScoop, where we chase ambulances and put out fires on Campus Corner.
Fuck stick. Anyway,
nobody supports the Blue. Nobody supports the fire department. Nobody supports the medical response teams. We basically are first responders.
So what happened for those of you who are not social media savvy?
Probably more important than first responders.
A house just behind Campus Corner. Just east of Campus Corner, caught on fire yesterday as we were sitting in here in the office. We saw the smoke billowing up, and we're like, hey, that looks pretty close. What is that? My only point of reference is when, Hibden Tire caught on fire not too long ago, and it was just like black smoke. It looked like somebody had dropped a bomb in the middle of Norman. But yesterday we saw this black pillowing smoke and walk over there, and a house is literally starting to catch on fire. I mean, there was nothing we could do. You couldn't throw water on it at that point. It was out of control then. And we just watched someone's house, someone's apartment go up in flames. I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was like a movie, how quickly it went smoke inferno.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And the popping and the noises.
I
that
kept
it was
thinking that something was going to blow up.
Yeah.
I was picturing that scene in Lethal Weapon where the house blows up and I was being like mom over there. I was like, you guys need to get back. This thing could blow up.
I was ready to run in case anybody was in there.
I was about to say, Eddie deserves all the credit here. He's the one that called 911 first. I do feel bad for, I believe it's a girl's car that also was lost in the damage there.
I just can't imagine being out on the beach all day in Destin or wherever and then coming back to a phone call that, hey, by the way, some updates from Norman. Your car blew up.
Yeah.
Your car burned down.
I mean, the back windshield blew out of it, and they had the full strength of the fire hose just going into that car to put out the fire because it had caught on fire.
I think that they smashed it.
Yes.
Yeah, they smashed that back window.
Yeah. It smashed.
Yeah.
Bob, you weren't here.
I watched the news. The news had pictures of it.
You can't trust them.
Yeah.
Those are the last people that I would trust in this.
If they were doing their job, they would have had Eddie on there.
That's right.
This is true.
I tried to sell the video, but nobody took the bid.
We don't have a TMZ around to pay for video.
I'm just shocked Eddie wasn't the guy live on the scene. I walked up and the fire just started going crazy. He just got some wild ass quote. Eddie would be perfect for
I described it as the scene when they tried to burn down the Stanford admissions office on Orange County. It was electrical.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, that was a good scene. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we had that yesterday. We've got all kinds of people are trying to start battles with this. I don't know. This isn't like Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly. It'd be more like Eminem and some homeless guy trying to start a rap battle with
That's a really good pop culture reference there.
It's not so old now,
that was
right?
good. That was good, yeah.
Well, everybody knows who Machine Gun Kelly is now because he dated Megan Fox, so...
Well, I have the perfect one. There was a shitty white rapper when I was in high school that my friend and I literally bought the album because he as well as albums it just looked like garbage and you're like, this has got to be bad. His name was Jealous J, and I was like, that's the perfect. That is just perfect all the way around. I hadn't thought of it till this very minute, but that's the rapper that we're talking about. So that's exciting.
No, but we had the ambulance chasing incident apparently. What else have we had, George? Oh, we've had the shooting or the assault with a deadly weapon on Campus Corner.
Yeah,
since you've showed up.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks.
We talked about that, I guess, last Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we had all the not fallout, but just the border regent stuff. That was actual serious stuff.
And then apparently an arsonist in Norman.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
They said it was the trash. Somebody maybe put a cigarette back there. Here was the best thing that happened yesterday, though. This was the absolute best thing that happened. I thought I was going to die. So we're standing there, and they pretty much got the fire under control. An OG&E guy shows up. And I had been joking, Eddie, go get a cigarette from your car and walk up to the firemen and ask them if they got a light. But we look over and the OG&E guy's halfway down his cigarette, he has just been puffing away right there. He may have used the fire to light it.
The aesthetic of the fireman was just, of the OG&E guy was unbelievable. It was actually kind of beautiful. And that's what you do from every movie that I've ever seen.
Is you smoke at a fire?
You smoke a cigarette after you put out the fire. That's what every fire
it's a tradition.
One of my favorite movies growing up was Backdraft.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they all smoked. They made it look cool. So obviously that's what you have to do.
Are you saying that they've influenced you to start smoking?
I don't smoke. I don't know why people are laughing about that. That's an honest statement.
You hear that, Karen?
That's a legend that started.
That's right.
With people that know you. Yeah,
that's right.
That makes sense.
Well, and any of the videos that I've ever had a cigarette on my mouth, that's called a prop. Welcome to Hollywood.
and you practice that flicking without ever lighting a cigarette your entire life.
I flicked my fraternity brothers' cigarettes after they smoked them. It's like eating somebody else's crust.
That was like a pledge thing, and you just kind of kept it going afterward. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's exactly right.
All right, well, let's see. It is time for the...
it's NCAA tournament week. OU. I can't wait to hear what Bob's breakdown of the NCAA tournament looks like.
And we're done.
Well, it is time for the Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective.
Thanks for joining us.
Look around. Bob, you can go now. Yes. The tournament coming up. I don't even know if I'm going to fill out a bracket this year for the first time. I'm just so disgusted with basketball, especially.
After our
State
talk
fans,
on Friday, after I didn't get you excited for the college basketball season, for the college basketball tournament,
you are excited for a very different reason.
No, I like watching it.
Is probably going to be asking for a raise at the end of this week.
That's probably not out of the question, but
he could be treating us.
I love this time of the year. I'm putting together a perfect bracket.
Thursday through Sunday is, I think, one of the best stretches of sports all year.
It's great. I love last week. I love the conference tournaments. I like the pressure of teams having to win to get in. But yeah, this week is pretty good as well.
So we've got that. The Sooners are not going to the NIT. I can't remember. Did OSU? They're going, right?
They're
OSU's
number one overall
right.
seed.
Yeah.
But going to Youngstown State.
Yeah, because they can't play in the Gallagher-Iba on Wednesday.
And the women, they are going out to California, right? Or
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, yeah.
They're in the Greenville Regional, but they're playing in Los Angeles because of the pod system.
Right. So they are actually the highest seed out there, right? UCLA's 5?
UCLA's 4.
If they were 4,
they're 4.
it would have been in Norman.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha. But no, I think it's been impressive what Jenny Baranchik has done with that women's team in just 2 years. So good for them. As we all know, they're all playing for second, though, because South Carolina is just a beast. But yeah, you got that going on. Spring football. It's spring break here. I know I've seen plenty of Instagram posts, and I saw DJ Graham is in Rio.
Yeah, they're in Brazil. Him and Bothroyd and Ethan Downs. I saw they were all at a rugby game last night.
Yeah, was that rugby or soccer?
Oh, was it soccer? It might have been. I guess it would have been soccer if they're in Brazil right now.
Are they in Brazil?
We got a soul mission here.
I was gonna say,
is it like a micro?
It's got to be. I feel like that's got to be like some
internship
sort of mission trip.
I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
Because I can't think of just going to Brazil to party. I guess you could go to Brazil to party.
Oh no, they're with the University of Oklahoma in some form because I saw a Instagram post that it was in Spanish, but it tagged the University of Oklahoma.
Well, they went to Miami last year, right? To
they went down to Florida,
school and stuff. Helped them out, so that's pretty cool. By the way, we also have some big recruiting news that we're going to be getting to, and Josh was very happy about the timing of all that last night. So we will get to that, but first. Eddie Radosevich, the reason that he could see the fire yesterday, the reason he was able to call 911 before anybody else, is because that man has perfect vision.
I would never want to make it about me, but we will make this portion about me. Enjoy Vision. It's the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. Not even close. Combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care was life-changing for me. The patient care part is maybe my favorite part. It was a very easy process, in and out. Basically, one day went in there with poor vision, walked out with Superman vision. Right now, enjoywithme.com. Use the promo code 40. That is the letter N, J-O-Y, withme.com. Promo code U40. If you have ever been interested or thinking about getting LASIK. Go do it. Or LASIK, yeah. Go do it. They use a laser. Just go do it. It's literally one of those things that you're going to be,
How was I living without this? Basically.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And just the idea of not having to mess with contacts or glasses or anything on trips. Like, think about having to go on a trip and having to go buy contact solution. You don't want to have to run down to Walgreens.
You've had to do that before. I've seen it.
I've done that multiple times. Or the worst part was like, the summer's coming up. You're going to be at the lake. What if you lose a contact in the lake at the islands down at Texoma? And then you have to walk around basically with one eye closed. You might end up going home with some local from Eufaula. And that wouldn't be good.
Not good looking. Yeah.
Yeah, you might get...
You can put that in a live read.
Can't put that in the read.
Well, I'm just warning people. I know that this has happened to some people. So just hit up Enjoy Vision, and they'll take care of you.
Well, let me say, Eddie, for 1 minute there. I can say that while this is clearly an advertiser, Eddie was selling this to people at the Under Armour camp
100%.
we will get into later.
100%.
So this is something Eddie believes in real life. I was a little worried we were going to have an Ari Gold entourage moment where I had to walk in with the guy doing the eye test and be like, just get out. Get out, start videoing something, because Eddie was given the strong sales pitch for Enjoy.
I was trying to get business up into Oklahoma. I'm bringing more business to Oklahoma than others. I think if you know.
All right.
Check out News OK.
The Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective Look Around was brought to you by Enjoy. Remember, use that promo code U40. You get $400 off. LASIK, go to enjoywithme.com, NJOY-with-me.com. Use that promo code U40. Okay, so Josh, let's start with you. Speaking about looking around, I'm sure you woke up this morning to a lot of text messages and trying to figure out exactly why someone would commit almost at midnight on a Monday. But Sooners pick up a big 2025 commitment. They don't even have a 2024 commitment, but yet they have a 2025 now.
One thing we can say unequivocally, Kevin Sperry is not worried about his brand. That's not what he's thinking about with his commitment decision. 11:30 on a Monday night might be the most low-key time to ever announce your commitment. So, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, was a guy we had a chance to see this weekend, talk to him. Eddie's already got the video up on the board. He was impressive. I mean, there's no way around it. He's really well put together for a young guy. Kind of, Eddie, I mean, you saw Baker as time went on more than I did, but physically, I'm going to guess that's something like what Baker looked like, because he's kind of, in the lower body, he's bigger than you would think for a high school sophomore, and he's threw the ball really well, had some nice work in the accuracy drills, connected with some receivers vertically. And the thing, watching his tape and doing the commitment breakdown, which we've got up on the site, the thing that amazes me, watch that guy play and you're like, man, he's not getting, there is no play where he just drops back and throws the ball. He is constantly under pressure. Rock Hill's not a great team, a new school, kind of figuring it all out. And he was just constantly moving around, having to change platforms, and is a guy that really looks good doing it. I mean, I made the comp, and I know a lot of our members just love my comps, but Chase Daniel is kind of who he reminded me of. Kind of a, like I said, compact guy, but makes a lot of throws at a lot of different angles. Is a good athlete, can move around, pick up yardage with his feet, but isn't going to be like Kyler Murray running the ball. But he can absolutely go get you a first down if you need it.
I thought he had a pretty nice day at the camp on Sunday as well. It's just so hard too because, and I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things like with the quarterback and wide receiver chemistry. It's hard for a bunch of those guys to get on the same page. But like going back through all the video that we had, and we had a ton, you can tell who the quote unquote elite quarterbacks are, if that makes sense. Like you can tell who the guys are that just throw really good balls. And, Sperry was in that group alongside, Michael Hawkins, obviously in the 2024 class. There was a couple other guys that I thought, it just seems like when those are the guys that are throwing the football, you don't have to worry about incomplete passes or passes being sporadic.
I thought it was a pretty good quarterback camp all the way around. I thought there were a lot of good players, but there was definitely guys that it looked different coming out of their hands than some of the other guys. Hawkins has some zip. Sperry's got some. The Mabry Mattower kid, McKay's little brother, he has got some velocity. He can spin it when it comes out of his hand.
Him and Lagway probably had the biggest arms there, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, Lord. DJ Lagway, like it's a missile coming out of his hands. Like it flies. And it was, Eddie, what would you say? 30-mile-an-hour winds on that field that day? It wasn't a perfect throwing element by any stretch.
The wind was definitely blowing harder going towards I guess it would have been the south. Like when they flip back over, you could tell from the two videos that we had, it's like, oh, he's throwing into the wind.
Well, and you could see on, and Sperry, I thought did a nice job adapting to it. You could definitely tell on all of their throws, though, there was a very different trajectory depending on what end zone you were throwing into. Like it was a lot more flat and trying to get it directly to the guy heading into that north end zone. In the south, they're like, oh, just let a guy run under it. We're going to let him go get it. And there were, several receivers. I thought, I don't know how much we want to get into the camp right now, but I thought, I saw Bryant Wesco have a few good moments with both Kevin Sperry and Mike Hawkins. So it was, I would say, one of the more talent-rich from an OU perspective, where I thought we saw a lot of guys who will probably end up on OU's roster at some point in the future in that camp. Like I thought it was really strong, and Kevin Sperry was as good as any, of the junior quarterbacks I saw, and frankly, as good as any of the quarterbacks. He was very strong, very sound, and I love his release. He's one of those guys that as soon as he sees it, makes up his mind. He has very quick. It's just kind of a whip, and it's like I talked about with Mike Hawkins. Sperry's kind of the opposite. Very repetitive. You can tell he's done it. He's worked on it a lot, and it's just every time. It's on point. It's going to be the same way. But like I said, on tape, you can see him do it from all these different angles. There's some, pardon the darkening of his reputation, but a little Brett Favre there, because there really is a lot of different release points when he gets rid of the ball.
Steal from the poor and give it to the rich. The one thing that I did think, and this is completely based off the 3-minute conversation we had on camera with Kevin on Sunday, it would seem that he is very comfortable with pretty open about the idea of being an OU football fan, and B, just from where he is located and working out with Sean Cooper, and we know everybody that is coming up in that kind of that workout, that I don't know what you want to call it, the facility training or whatever group, there, and the training group. It would seem that he's going to be it's going to be easy for him to sell Oklahoma with as much talent as coming out of that North Texas, southeastern Oklahoma area.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. And you look where it could be very, very advantageous, is having a big-time quarterback like that in the Dallas area when one of the best wide receivers in the country, who, again, we saw on Sunday, is DeCorian Moore at Duncanville. Like, they're going to be at camps together. They're going to be around each other. They're going to go on OU visits together. And to have that guy, and again, you've got to see, like, we all saw Jackson Arnold was pretty good at it. Being able to kind of walk the line of, I'm going to recruit you, but I'm not going to wear you out about it. And at the same time, you get other guys who just absolutely push a guy away from a school. I don't think Kevin Sperry will be that way. He didn't strike me as a overbearing kind of kid. He's kind of low key. So I think that can be something that can work. And again, when you get that quarterback that early, and then if you can finish off Mike Hawkins on April 8th when he makes his announcement, you've got 2 quarterbacks in the Dallas area, an area that we all know has always been a priority. But I think under Brent Venables, you're going to see it more like Bob Stoops, where there are probably 8 to 10 guys in the Dallas area that OU wants to take every year and probably will take.
Hey,
so I think you're going to see that as a bigger thing.
Just seeing him up close, how tall legitimately is Sperry?
I would say 6'1's pretty fair, Eddie. Wouldn't you say? I mean, he and I are about dead looking each other in the eye. I mean, he was, I would say that's about right.
And, I would also add, too, that he's much bigger than the first time that I saw him that might have been at this camp a year ago. And then to keep in mind that he's only a junior, I walked away thinking he's a little bit bigger than I thought he was.
And like I said earlier, very well proportioned, like big, solid kid, not like a little, kind of rail thin quarterback where you got to, kind of see what it does. There's some physical comparison between he and Jackson Arnold. Like I could see that as well. Like they kind of physically have a similar build. I don't know about you, Eddie, but for me, he's clear. He's probably not as tall and as long as Mike Hawkins is, but he's more physically developed at this point.
Josh, at this time last week, Kevin Sperry didn't even have an offer. I mean, it just happened so quickly. Are you confident that it's going to stick? And were you a little shocked at how fast it all came together?
I am. I mean, even so, we can kind of peel back the curtain now. So all along the sidelines and really since the offer happened, you kept hearing the next time he visits, which, as you learned was going to be March 23rd, he's going to commit. Like you just kept hearing it like almost, I would say within 30 minutes of him getting that offer, I heard OU's going to have a 2025 commitment before they have a 2024 one. Because, we all knew Mike Hawkins was going to go April 8th, and everybody's kind of thinking that could be number one. And, we'll see if he's the first or not. But walking around the sidelines, you were like, okay, yeah. Like, I mean, Kevin Sperry, like, I almost, like, I'm shocked by it in this day and age, but I respect it. He didn't try to hide anything. He didn't try to be coy about it. Anybody that's watched that video interview, like I kind of put him on the spot, but he could have taken the out, and he didn't. Like he just started laughing and was like, we'll see. I may commit, Like he didn't try to hide anything. And I think, OU's just where he wants to be. And it's not like, he's committing to OU without other – I mean, he's got Oregon, Tennessee, A&M, and there's another Florida State. I mean, he's got some good offers, and I think OU's just what he wants to do. Like, I don't think there's any big risk for him there or anything that would tell him to do something else. So we'll, have to see where it goes. You never want to say anything with a kid that's 16, but it would take something changing, and I know people will say, well, what if Jeff Lebby leaves? I don't think that's what it is. Like, don't get me wrong. He likes Jeff Lebby and wants to play for Jeff Lebby, but I don't think it's a deal where that's what he fell in love with. I think he just likes OU.
And Josh, this may be a stupid question, but this has no effect on Hawkins' decision, right?
I really don't think so. I don't see why it would. I think, because honestly, more than anything, the reason I believe that is because I know Jeff Lebby knew when he offered Kevin Sperry where that was probably going to go. Now, he may not have known it was going to happen within like 96 hours, but like he knew that kid was a heavy, heavy OU lean. And if he offered him, he was probably going to be his quarterback in 2025. So I've got to think he was comfortable with that and how that was going to impact Michael Hawkins. And Hawk is, he's like his dad. He's an incredibly confident kid. Now, he's real low-key about it. Like, there's no cocky vibes from Mike or anything. But I don't think he's going to feel threatened about that or, like he's going to expect to go. I mean, he's willing to follow Jackson Arnold. I don't know what he's scared. I mean, and no offense to Kevin Sperry, but in the pantheon of quarterbacks, I mean, Jackson Arnold's a bigger problem right now for Michael Hawkins than Kevin Sperry is.
Isn't it time that we had a recruit that was just an asshole to everybody? Like all other players. Like, everybody gets along so well now, and they're all friends, and they exchange jerseys and, all that. Like, let's just get an asshole back. Like, that just hates everyone, wants to destroy everyone. Doesn't, like remember when Russell said that Russell Westbrook was like, the ball is my friend? I don't need friends. Like hadn't turned out well for Russ, but I want to recruit like that. Kind of like a down and out former, beat writer. Well, I guess still current, but down and out. Just be an asshole to people for no reason.
Part of us being like the Jordan era products, like we can still respect those guys. These guys are all LeBron kids. Like, oh, everybody's friends, and we go on vacations together after we lose in the finals to one another. Hell with that, man. Like, I'm not doing it. I got no room for that in my life.
I just want it to turn. I just want this generation of lovey-dovey kids to turn to where they all want to kill each other.
You want to heal?
Yes.
I love it. I'm for it.
Find one of those for us. We'll make him a star.
The thing I will say is there are kids like that. They've just gotten much better at masking it. Like there is I mean, guys, let's be real. OU had one a couple years ago that was real good at like, oh,
Spencer Rattler?
all my teammates. I love my teammates. And everybody's like, he's kind of a dick.
Is it Spencer Rattler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. I mean, like, and I had no problem with Spencer. I'm not saying, like, he and I got along fine, and he was pretty good to me in general.
He just needed to be better at football. That was his problem.
Yes.
That's going to be the thing. You can't just talk it. You're going to have to be really good. Like Jonte Cook, who just signed to Texas, he could be that type of guy.
Yeah. Carrie, I wish you, like, had gotten a chance to really follow Jonte. Jonte is his give a shit is so low. I love it. Like, and I don't mean that like he doesn't care about football. His concern over what anyone thinks about anything he does is
zero.
It's nothing. Like, he was the kid that walked through Texas and was like, I don't see any football trophies. All I see is swimming trophies. He put it on his Instagram.
And he signed with Texas.
He signed with Texas.
Who was the kid a long time ago, Josh, the linebacker that went to Texas? Was it like Robert Killebrew?
Yes.
I love that kid. And even when he's at Texas, like, I still love this kid.
He was one of the famous Jeff Ketchum, the worm has turned guys.
Oh, okay.
Because he was that kind of killer that Ketch thought they didn't have in the 2000s. And he was like, OU's got all those guys. The guys that just want to rip your heart out. And, Max got him singing Kumbaya. And then he goes, but no, he got a guy like Killebrew, and Killebrew didn't give a damn. And, like, his summation was wrong, but his inputs were right. Like, Killebrew did not give a shit.
And by the way, we're talking about George and eating. George, you told me the other day that you're a big shrimp guy.
I love shrimp. Good protein. I've been trying to eat a lot of protein lately, so and it's healthy.
Bulking up?
Yeah, bulking up for the summer. Trying to get that summer bod. But yeah, no, I love shrimp. I'm not a big usually like fish guy, but shrimp is fantastic. So I need to order.
Are you like more of a New Orleans type guy? Are you like a Cajun, or are you like they've got like the French prime shrimp is what we're talking about. PRIME shrimp.com. Our great sponsor of the pod. Use that promo code SoonerScoop. You get 25% off your order if you get 5 packages or more. And now they're just single pack, so no more doubles. If you've ordered before, you can just get a single pack, $10.99 or $9.99. George, let me just read you down. You tell me what suits you. I'll go down the line here. You've got the Louisiana boil Cajun shrimp.
I would eat that.
New Orleans style barbecue shrimp.
I love barbecue, so yes.
I can't wait till you get to one and say, no, I don't want that one. Signature Cajun they also have, but like my favorite is probably the French Quarter Alfredo shrimp. Just get some linguine noodles and put them in there.
Do they have a lemon pepper too?
Lemon and cracked pepper shrimp.
That's what I think I would like the most. I love lemon pepper seasoning, so I think that's what I would go with.
And then they also have the garlic herb butter shrimp as well. So, I mean, lots to choose from. You can even get them unseasoned. You cook them, you just boil them in the bag that they come with. Under 10 minutes, you got a restaurant quality meal. And like I've said before, I DoorDash myself too much, just like with the Sergio's chicken parm. So it's nice to not have to pay $40 to get a meal. Sorry, Eddie, I know I should go to the restaurant, but go check them out. PrimeShrimp.com, great sponsor. Go support them so they stay with us. PrimeShrimp.com, promo code SoonerScoop, 25% off your order of 5 packs or more. All right, so I mean, outside of that, I mean, I know we've had, when we potted last, it was still kind of. Getting feedback from junior day, and you had a lot of guys you were still in touch with. But Any kind of revelation since last week about, what came out of that, or any bigger positives that you take out of that?
I think the one I came away with, and it was talking to our guy Nick Harris at Rivals. He talked with Kobe Black following the camp. Kobe Black, top 50 player in the country out of Waco Connolly, big time corner, like 6'1", 180. Was kind of a late add to the visitor list. Everybody was kind of like, maybe he'll come. And I think I ended up confirming it like late Friday night, early Saturday morning, something like that. I mean, it was kind of last minute that anybody was sure he was coming. And talking to some people, it sounds like OU has pushed themselves right in the mix. And it sounds like it's probably going to come down to Oklahoma, Texas, and Ohio State. It's interesting because it's kind of how you look at it, because his older brother is at Oklahoma State. Now, does he see that as like, okay, I've gone to Oklahoma, I'm familiar with the state, I know what it's like, I've made that trip a bunch of times? Or does he see it as, like his brother does, and F them guys? Like, I don't know where he comes out, but the fact he comes up there and takes a visit tells me that he's probably pretty interested. And if his final three are those three, he's thinking big programs. And so I like I said, I think it's interesting. I would probably bet on Texas, just, being a Waco kid, Syntex. They're obviously putting a lot of resources into him, just like everybody else is. But he does seem to have a good relationship with Jay Valai. And again, you start talking about, adding that guy to PJ Adebawore, and if you can close on Williams Nwaneri, and then you start going down that list, you're starting to not just like, oh, there's good depth here. There is elite personnel here.
All right. Under Armour Camp, you guys talked about that. Was there any other guy that really stood out, maybe that was off your radar a little bit from being in Dallas Sunday?
I would say probably the guy. Because there was such a long list of guys, and it's sad to say this now because it's probably going to come for nothing. But Jamarian Ficklin from Muskogee, 2025 quarterback. And I know Eddie noticed him before I did, and I just started watching him throw the ball. And that kid's got plenty of arm. You watch his tape, and he's an outstanding athlete. Really one of those guys that could run those old, Bill Snyder offenses and stuff. Like, he would be outstanding in that kind of role. But I like him a lot. He's already got a handful of offers. But I think he'll push for 4-star conversation. Like I keep saying, that 2025 class, we saw Alex Shield Knight from Wagner up there. And, that 25 class in Oklahoma is going to have maybe a dozen, like, legit Power 5 signees. Like, it's and maybe more than that. But I'm talking about signing with the Oklahomas, the Texases, the Tennessees, like that kind of like big Power 5 programs. So I thought he really stood out. I don't know if there was anybody else that really caught my eye, because largely, and it's not anybody else's fault, it's mainly about there were so many guys that we had to watch. We didn't really get to just kind of eyeball other people and see what was happening. I will say Bryant Wesco is an absolute monster.
That's the guy that I was going to ask about. Yep.
OU made him a priority very early on, and you can see why. I was talking to somebody, I think it was I think it was Jason Howell, our old buddy, and he was talking about he had something like 1,100 yards receiving for Midlothian last year. Okay, that's really good. It's like you talk about like CeeDee Lamb senior year where he had like over 2,000. Like, okay, it's nothing compared to that. But you have to remember, his offense is like a veer. He accounted for like 90% of their receiving yardage last year. And so it's just insane what that guy's doing. And his hands, like he made a catch, and I don't know if Eddie got it, like it was like, I want to say like one of the very first reps of one-on-ones or in DBs, and he's almost falling over, and he falls into the end zone and like just grabs the ball one-handed and then kind of pulls it into his body before he hits the ground. Like it was, I haven't seen many guys have that good a day. He'll jump into the 100 in the next move. He is a legitimate top 75, top, overall type guy and top 10 wide receiver in the country.
I thought two other wide receivers that I thought really had good days on Sunday, DeCorian Moore and Terry Bussey. They're both guys that they're a little bit different as well.
Yeah, but Bussey's a pure slot guy, and a guy that, if somebody watches some, Eddie put some tape up, like if they watch it, they'll be like, well, it's not refined. You got to remember, he plays DB. He's their punter. He's their kicker. He's their starting quarterback. He doesn't play a lot of wide receiver for Timpson. A little small school out in East Texas, and I think 2A, and they went all the way to the state finals. Now, and so it's not perfect yet, but he's one of those guys that, like, if the ball is in the air, he's going to outcompete anybody for it. Like, he is just a good football player. And DeCorian Moore, I mentioned him earlier. He's going to be in the conversation as the number one wide receiver in the country in that junior class. So he is outstandingly good. Another guy at Duncanville, and maybe if OU can close on Caden Durham, if that's one of the running backs they end up taking, how much does that help them with DeCorian Moore to kind of really start to get that door really open at Duncanville when, in recent years, Savion Bird's really their only win there for all the offers and all the attention they've given that program. I think now, especially with Emmett Jones and his relationship with Reginald Samples, the head coach at Duncanville, that's going to pay huge dividends in recruiting DeCorian Moore.
Bob, I just wanted to give you an opportunity. If you have anything else you wanted to ask about the camp or recruiting before we move on.
No, it was definitely Wesco because he was just the talk of everyone who was there on social media. And is it still OU versus TCU? And I guess, we know that, Hawkins has picked April 8th. Will OU see any fireworks before April 8th?
It's possible, like that, and that's. But at the same time, if you made me bet, I kind of would lean towards if he picks OU, he'll be the first commitment. Like I kind of think that's the way it's trending. Yeah. Now I will say, I think from April 1st to July, you're going to see the lump sum of Oklahoma's class probably come in. It's going to work a lot like it did last year, but it's interesting how. I don't want to say a slow start, but it's just I think Oklahoma's in on a lot of elite guys. We're talking about Nwaneri, the top 10 guy in the country. Kobe Black, a top 50 guy in the country. Bryant Wesco is planning a visit to Clemson and doesn't even have an offer from Clemson yet. Like these are high-end guys that are wanting to look around and see what's out there. And in some cases, their official visits are their only chances to really do that. So they're kind of plotting their course very, very carefully. And I think the other thing you have to consider is I think there's some element, especially at running back, where it seems like Oklahoma's in such good position. Like that was a very popular topic at the camp on Saturday, on Sunday amongst the recruiting reporters is like, how's OU going to sort this out? Because there are people that think OU leads for like 4 running backs in the state of Texas. Well, I don't see any way they take more than 2, so they're going to have to make some tough decisions and figure out who the priority is and who, of course, they can close on, because leaving in March isn't the same thing as signing in December.
Right now, all I want to see is more Sawchuk. I could give a damn about those kids. After the bowl game, I just want more Sawchuk. I still am so mystified by that, because I was just how he never played
fan as a recruit, and then he didn't play all year, and I was like, I told you he wasn't ready, and then he comes out and plays like that, and you're like, well, where was he all year? Like, what was the holdup?
Well, that would be the argument, that since he wasn't a mid-year guy, it took him that type of process to become ready. And I'm curious how they're going to use the running backs in the spring, because usually you don't do much with them, because you don't want them to get hurt. No physicality going through the spring process. But when you've got a bunch of young backs, I wonder.
Like last spring, Devontae Barnes was hurt most of it,
and Eric Gray didn't do like anything because they didn't want him to get hurt. But when you've got all these young guys, how's DeMarco and Brent going to go about that process?
Well, spring football coming up the 22nd, so we're gearing up for that spring break right now. So next week they'll be on the practice field. Very exciting. We'll talk more about that coming up next week as well, and we can talk some about it today. But one of the perks of having the office now is it kind of has accelerated my knowledge of who George Stoia is. We talked about the parents last week. I heard that we We were in the clear. We didn't say anything too over the line.
Yeah, that's true. My mom...
that will change today.
She's officially a subscriber to the podcast. I had to show her how to listen to it. So that was an experience. But she was a big fan of the Pioneer Woman Talk and the concert talk. They were reminiscing on the concerts they went to in college.
Does she have like the Apple CarPlay?
Yeah, but she doesn't know how to use it.
Oh, okay, that's a problem.
Yeah, so I had to show her how to do that. My dad,
though, podcast. It has a podcast tab.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know. But yeah.
But no, one of the things I found out about George is he is road compatible with us. Like, he is not above eating at a Cracker Barrel or a Olive Garden. Like, you're good people. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll eat anywhere. I love Olive Garden. Their chicken parmesan's really good. I eat a lot of the breadsticks and the salad and stuff, which is great. And then,
Have you ever had the chicken parm from Sergio's?
I don't even know what Sergio's is.
Oh,
It's right across from Benvenuti's.
Yes.
No, I've
Down
never.
Gray Street.
If I eat Italian in Norman, I eat Victoria's.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a request for that the next time I'm up. I'm a big chicken parm guy, so let's make that happen at summer camp.
At Sergio's, we'll DoorDash it in for you.
Then you're going to pass out and won't be ready for the afternoon session.
It is a very large piece of chicken. I mean, it's a very... And the great thing when they deliver it is they keep the marinara on the side so it doesn't it doesn't make the chicken all soggy.
Well, you shouldn't be getting it to go. That's a meal that you should not be eating on the go.
Fair enough.
Chicken parm.
So
I eat everything on the go.
I think Eddie just called for a SoonerScoop date night. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about that.
That needs to be a sit-down meal.
Are you coming with me?
Where?
To Sergio's.
To Sergio's. I can tell Bob's on board.
Oh, yeah, I'll
Sergio's
go.
is awesome.
I think Eddie's just saying you can't eat chicken parm on the
Chicken
go.
parm on the go. We're worried about the
I'm not
integrity
eating it
of
in
the
my
meal.
car. I'm having it delivered to my house. I'd put it on a nice plate.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But there are some meals that just
you
don't
want fresh
travel.
at
That's fair.
this-
That's
that
fair.
very
I will
second.
say that the chicken piccata.
Some meals don't travel.
The chicken piccata from Benvenuti's, that's a very messy thing to have delivered.
It's you can't DoorDash French fries. It's
No, no.
Bingo,
every
yes.
single-
Well, it's hard enough just to go to Cane's and go through the drive-thru and have your fries, have them their integrity of the fry is gone, pretty much. Which by the way, no, and see, I was worried because like you and Bob and Eddie like traveling, like, are you going to be like throw them out? I mean, the worst thing about traveling is you can't sit in the front seat because Bob gets car sick if he's not in the front
You'll
seat.
find out.
I'll take the entire back seat. That's fine.
Just take a pillow with
or
you.
I'll drive. I can drive. I'm a good driver.
Now, that's an interesting curveball there.
I think give that like 7 years, George, and then Carrie might trust you enough to drive the vehicle. Like Eddie, just
Bob has failed me. He took a nice Eskridge Lexus and ended up buying a new tire on that trip. And a Lexus SUV tire is not cheap.
I've only been in one wreck in my life, and it did total my car, but it was not my fault. So
Okay.
I think
I'll
can
take
do
it under advisement.
I've never had a wreck yet. Knock on wood.
Sarah Stitz had like 9.
And they weren't even her car.
I know they were the state's cars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised to know that George is on board for trips. He won't be a problem. Like Josh will tell you, like Josh doesn't belong on trips with us. He criticizes everywhere you go. Just because he has El Tiempo in his backyard, he can pull that out of his pocket anytime.
I mean, what do you really catch crap about other than El Phoenix? El Phoenix is
fine food. All right, their salsa is magical.
Now, I will say, Houston it pollutes you. You're like, why would I ever go to, and I don't want to diss like somebody's favorite Mexican restaurant, but we'll just stay on brand. Why would I go to El Phoenix when I can go to El Tiempo or I can go to any of these other great, like
Guadalajara?
Even Chuy's at times feels like a cop-out. Like, there's these great Mexican places, and you're like, I'm going to go there? All right.
Chuy's has the
I love
best
Chuy's.
queso going right now, in my opinion.
I think we ate at Chewy's last week. Like I'm just saying like there is this.
No, you went through a Chewy's phase because you always wanted to go there like after we were at camps and things.
Yep. That jalapeno ranch, like that stuff can cure illness.
Hey, let me tell you what I did before the pod today. I went to deadsoxy.com, great sponsor of the pod, and I wanted some new socks. I didn't do the thing where I'm like, hey, can you send me some stuff? Can I leech off you? No, they're already sponsoring the pod, so I'm going to buy some socks. And so I went on there, and I got a few different versions of the boardrooms. I got the 5-pack of the no-show. I got the OK Mix 4-pack bundle in the team collections. It all came out to just over $200. I put in that code SCOOP. I got almost like $33 off my order. Even some of that stuff was on sale, and I still got 25% off. And then because it was over $60, I got free shipping. So $171 ended up, I saved myself over $30 on my order just by using the promo code SCOOP on deadsoxy.com. So go check them out. Lots of different varieties, variations. The no-shows are essential as it's getting warmer. But I got the Maker Bayfields. I just wanted another pair of those. Maybe I'll give them away. Maybe you. But no, I want to have, maybe George needs some. So he's new. He needs some Dead Soxy. So he needs some shrimp and he needs some Dead Soxy. He's a member of the unofficial 40 now. So go check him out, deadsoxy.com, deadsoxy.com. Enter that promo code SCOOP. Get 25% off your order. And as always, stay soxy. Bob?
Yes.
There's no more basketball. You've been relieved.
That's not true, though. The portal just started.
Well, no, you don't have to watch that shit on the floor anymore.
No, it's funny, right? Because we talked last week. We're going to know in the first 5 minutes. Tanner Groves get an early foul trouble. If Grant Sherfield can't make a shot, and Tanner Groves gets a foul in the first 37 seconds, and Sherfield is 1 of 13 until a 4-point play in the final minute of the game. It's like they just, you shoot 14 of 56, shoot 25% from the field, you're not going to win any games. No Tanner Groves bashing, though. That dude tried to will himself to a performance in the second half and got a double-double. But there was just no one that could carry the day. No one was on fire or could even make like 50% of their shots. And you just knew, even if the margin stayed between 5, 8, or 10, it's like they're not about to make a run. And this is just a slow march to the end of the season.
Well, you put a post up on the board. Give us your thoughts on the roster. Who might stick around? Who's probably going to leave? I mean, I feel like you have a good sense of that.
Already know one, right?
Yep, we already know Benny Schroeder is out the door. I think maybe a month ago I would have said he was going to stay, but I started thinking about it as like maybe America might not be a fit for him, and if it is, he definitely didn't think his first year was going to be like the way that it was in Norman. So I'm going to see in the instant gratification world, he's going to take off. And I still think the one to just circle is Jalen Hill. I think that's going to not make or break the way that they have to go about the portal, but that's going to be a massive loss if Jalen doesn't stick around because Porter loves him so much. And I don't think Porter's going to process anybody. Now, I will say there's probably a couple guys he's not going to be too heartbroken if they decide to look elsewhere, but I don't think he's pushing anybody out the door. I think, as much grief as some of these guys get on the message board in the game threads, guys like Bijan Cortez, like Jacob Groves, he wants them back because he wants them to all grow old together, and that's how you build a program as opposed to trying to build a team. But I think you can look at someone like CJ Nolan, he didn't even play going down the stretch. Began the season as starter.
Yeah, his mom told me something.
Yeah.
Well, she told everybody.
She's told a lot of people a lot of things. Like, that's not going to work out. You don't expect Grant Sherfield to stick around for another season. I don't know what good it would do him or the program at this point. And you just kind of lean on the younger crew at the guard and in the forward spot, and then you say, you've got to find your answers in the post, in the portal. No excuses this time around.
I'm curious, has the conversation, and I've been to the press conferences like you've been to everything. Do you get a sense that Porter, realized that he needs to build his team differently to compete in the Big 12?
I think he still believes in his system. He just knows that he didn't check all the boxes last year. If you have an open scholarship going into the season, you didn't do something right, because you just can't leave that open in the era of the portal when you know some guys are just going to be one and done anyway. Like, you're not concerned about, I got to make sure I have this scholarship for this high school class that's coming up. That's not an issue any longer. You need to fill all those spots up, and then when you get a Yaya Kite, who you knew was kind of a reach to begin with, but then he gets hurt for the season, so you're basically down 2 scholarship guys before you even look at who can really contribute that's on your roster. So I think he just knows he's got to be able to hit a heck of a lot more. I think the impact guys that he thought from the first 2 years just didn't pan out. The Jordan Goldwire, Tanner Groves, Grant Sherfield, Joe Bamsil. They weren't what OU needed them to be in order to be an NCAA tournament team either of the last 2 years. And so you just got to make sure that you hit one type of scorer, type of guard, and one difference maker right off the bat in the post. And then you need to just sort of gauge what happens with the rest of your roster. Is like, oh man, I didn't see that coming. Now I've got to go in that direction. But I mean, there's not all 13 guys are going to play. I understand that, but you just can't take a guy. So you got to be able to fill out that roster so that when you look at it on paper, this team belongs in the tournament as long as they play to their potential.
But I mean, I'm thinking more from the perspective of, they always had problems with Oklahoma State because they were bigger and more athletic. Whereas Oklahoma State wasn't really a problem for other teams that had people that could handle them, and because they showed that Oklahoma State really couldn't run an offense.
The disparity between what we saw, like Tanner Groves trying to do against Caleb Boone or Musa Cisse, and then the next night, literally 24 hours later, they're going against Christian Bishop and
they didn't
Dylan
have
DeSue.
Allen, but
they didn't even have Timmy Allen, but it was like they were playing against 2 different players.
Yeah, and that's Porter's mantra has been length, athleticism, speed, shooting, toughness. It's like he's just repeating that ad nauseum. He's like this. He wants that ingrained into his staff as they're looking at any of the portal guys. This is what we need. I mean, we know
somehow they beat Alabama. Like, how did that? Like, I watched Missouri and Alabama play the other night or the other afternoon, and like Missouri, they hung with them because they were long, they were athletic. And Alabama, Brandon Miller was playing his ass off. Like, they played a really good game against Missouri, and I look like I just watched the whole game thinking, how did OU beat this team? Like,
they shot 72% in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean.
And Nate Oates said it after. He's like, we hope this game becomes what it was last year for Kansas in the Big 12 as SEC Challenge when Kentucky destroyed them, and then Kansas woke up and won the national championship. Nate's goal was that would do the same thing for the Tide, and it's hard to disagree or argue with what they've been able to do since.
All right, so the portal is open.
It's just too early.
Yeah,
I know so many people are like, oh, they're going to jump on that guy. There's so many tournament teams. None of those guys have entered the portal yet. For the most part, I get it. You're the first guy that enters the portal. You're like, oh yeah, we got to get him. Just be patient. I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite on March 14th as that guy's definitely gonna be part of the Sooners team.
I'll say this too. I like basketball. I pay attention to the portal. Like football, I'm ready to give up on paying too much attention to the portal because I think with football, the only way you're going to be a national championship level team is if you recruit, top 5. To me, the portal only solves a few problems. It could help you cure a position in the short term, but I don't think the portal is a way to build a college football team. It can be in college basketball.
Kansas State, Iowa State, and North Carolina State are all examples that you can turn around a season rather quickly through the portal in college basketball. You just
need a couple hits. You need those guys that you are expected to be your difference makers. They have to pan out. I mean, you look at Sherfield. He has 18, 19 points per game, 6 assists per game with Wolfpack. In conference play, he shot 31% from 3, 14 points, less than 3 assists. that's not the guy that you needed him to be.
He's a little soft. It's okay.
Yep.
It's a little soft. Good
You
luck to him.
got
over in
figured
Europe.
out.
Spring football, I mean, coming up next week. And, George and I have been sitting in here talking about storylines a little bit over the last week or so. But I don't know, George, I mean, you've been digging into some numbers and looking at things and building stories and things like that. But what is the first thing? We'll have an opportunity to go out and look at the team and guys like that. But, I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting, you coming from the NFL, covering college again. You're going to have a little bit of an adjustment with kind of how you look at things, I would expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit. I think the biggest thing is you've got so many young guys on this roster that probably need to step up next year if they want to be a lot better. I know they have, some veteran guys in key positions, but I mean, you look at receiver, you've got a bunch of young guys that need to step up in that spot. I mean, we just talked about running back, right? Like, what does that room look like? The offensive line, you've got some big holes to fill up there. I think on defense, you've got so many transfers up front. I think that's where some of my focus will be early on is that defensive line and kind of how they've tried to maybe revamp a little bit of that up front. So, yeah, I think it'll be a little different than, I view it in terms of NFL. I mean, spring practice is obviously a lot more important in college football than the NFL in terms of, their OTAs and stuff in June. I mean, half the team doesn't show up to that for the NFL, but spring practice can be a huge development period, obviously for some of these young guys. And they have so many early enrollees too, keeping an eye on those guys who can maybe step in and be a contributor from day one.
And I think just kind of, really kind of tracking how things develop between Dylan Gabriel and his receivers without Marvin Mims. I mean, that, Jalil Farouk, does he kind of become the star? I mean, that's kind of the question I have. And, other guys, young guys, the Nick Andersons and guys like that got some time in the bowl game. And Jaden Gibson, I mean, everybody looks at him and says he should be a really good player. He didn't play in the bowl game. You wonder if there's some, he did get, I don't think it's indicative of his character that he got a PI. I mean, it's one of those things, though, that makes you wonder, is his head on right? Is he built to become a great player?
Yeah, I mean, I think that receiver group, especially on offense, that to me is the most interesting group of all of them because it's a lot of players other than Farouk and Drake Stoops. It feels like a group of guys that really haven't proven a whole lot. I mean, Mims was that group last year for the most part. And you guys can speak to that better than I can. But from the outside looking in, it just seems like that's an area that they really need somebody to step up. And I think Farouk, had a really good year last year. But can he be that guy that Dylan Gabriel goes to late in games or for the big play down the field? I know Farouk's sort of a burner, but it wasn't like he was a guy like Mims last year who was just running wide open sometimes down the field. Can he be that guy, or is that going to be somebody else? And Farouk plays the same role he did last year. So I think it's a really interesting group. And again, that's also a spot that you thought they would go maybe and get another guy in the portal. Obviously, they got the kid from Michigan. I'm interested to see what he looks like out at camp. And so I'm excited to get out there because I also know that it's changed since I was here last year or however many years ago it was. But, we didn't get to go out there maybe once in the spring. Mm-hmm. And it was like for 15 minutes we saw the guys touching their toes and that was it. This, we might actually get to see a little bit more.
Brett's been giving us like 40, 45 minutes and letting us see like actual hitting.
To the W
point,
drill.
Yeah, to the point you're just like, shit, these guys actually practice hard. Like, wow. But like Bob, I think one of the interesting things too in the spring offensively will be what happens at the tight end position. Who really steps up? Braden Willis got so many of the snaps last year. They really didn't play other people other than the Parker kid every once in a while. It seemed like it was kind of in specialized situations. Bringing an extra guy, to block and things like that. But yeah, I thought it's kind of interesting that Jeff Lebby, doesn't really have, an H-back type, presence where other guys are coming in that specialize in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the first things we kind of realized that position, sorry, Jeremiah Hall, Dimitri Flowers, doesn't really exist in what this OU offense is. And did Austin Stogner just kind of watch Braden Willis and say, that's what I want to do? That's who I thought I was going to be at OU, but they never really looked at me to try to be that type of person. I'll come back to Norman. I'll be that guy, and I'll have that same type of 1 year, spurt that allows me to get to the combine, allows me to get the Senior Bowl. But it's another spot that we're going to say again, it's the young guys, Caden Helms, Jason Lou Ellen. It's like these are guys that we need to know who they are. But it's a lot of it's gonna put on what can Stogner do. How different is he compared to the in 2021? I mean, he underwhelmed. I mean, I know he had to come back from a lot with that staph infection and all that from 2020. But 2021 was supposed to be like a breakout season for him, and it just petered out completely. And he mentioned he's in a different place mentally now compared to he was in 2021. So what does that mean for him as a player? Because he's going to have to be that guy.
And guys, I know George mentioned defensive line, but I think clearly, I mean, linebacker, you've got guys that have played there. You bring Kanak down. The Cheetah will be interesting, and maybe you put the Cheetah kind of in this discussion, but I thought Brent's most, I mean, it was hard to hear, I think, for some people, but it was the truth, and he said it. It was kind of it was a vicious comment, but it didn't play like that. He didn't sound like that. But him saying that we lost a lot of bodies at safety, but not a lot of production, I mean, that says all you need to say. I mean, that safety position is going to be one of the biggest storylines of camp because it's going to be completely different.
That was like in minute 50 of a 52-minute presser, and a lot of people did not catch it.
Well, and it feels like, I mean, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Billy Bowman will have one of those spots.
Right, yes.
And then, the other spot feels like I think that they would like to see Key Lawrence step into that, and it felt like they tried that last year, and he just wasn't consistent.
It's up to him, yeah.
He wasn't consistent enough, and so, does that open the door for, I know everybody wants to talk about Peyton Bowen. That'd be a big ask, but is he somebody that can step into that role? Is there some other guys that can move into that role? I'm interested in
Robert Spears-Jennings is another guy.
Reggie
Pearson, yeah. I mean, you have a group of guys that I think will compete for the other spot. I think also corner is interesting because obviously Woody has one of the spots. Does Jaden Davis become that guy officially? I mean, is he somebody that, does he enter the portal after the spring football? I know that usually is the next wave, right?
Yeah, you do have that 15-day portal after spring practice.
You could see a handful of guys there. I mean, Gentry Williams, obviously, is somebody that could maybe step into that role. So I think those are all interesting. And then you said Cheetah. So that whole secondary, I mean, there's a group of guys. I mean, Jaden Rowe is somebody that I remember watching him in high school at Union. I'm interested to see what they end up doing with that guy because I think he's a freak of an athlete, and I wonder if he can slide into a safety spot, if he's a guy that can play Cheetah. Again, there's several guys that I think they have a lot of depth there. They just got to figure out who can step into those roles, and that's what spring is for, is who can kind of take a commanding spot heading into the summer and then obviously the fall.
You would really like to look up in mid-April and say that not only has Deshaun McCullough kind of locked him and solidified himself in at the Cheetah position, but that would allow for them to move other guys around and not have to worry about, adding depth at the Cheetah position.
No, you're right, because he mentioned last month, like Reggie Pearson, Peyton Bowen, getting a little like no.
Seems like everybody gets a run at least one time.
In a perfect world, no, I don't want those guys to add Cheetah. I want Deshaun to be so far, head and shoulders above that we can move those guys to safety and see what spot fits them best.
And more than anything, I think that I would like to walk away from spring, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to tell, but I think you'd want to walk away and say, like, whether it be a Danny Stutzman or whoever, he kind of takes a little bit more of a leadership maturation role and say, like, this is my defense. I've been around now for almost a year and a half in a true starting form. This is my defense. This is what's going to happen. Almost kind of taking over what maybe he felt like he couldn't because of a Deshaun White or somebody from a year ago that was a mainstay on that defense.
No, I agree there because he's going to, how Jaron Kanak and Kobe McKenzie react now is going to be based off what they see what Stutzman does. He's going to set that tone. And so what kind of, you see all the videos of Kanak and Stutzman together, all the time. What do those two, how are they going to bring out the best in each other when they're out there?
Well, and you look at Brent's defenses, even going back to his time at Oklahoma previously, like, his best defenses have a really stud middle linebacker.
Sure.
And it's usually somebody that is also a leader on this team. I mean, you look at Travis Lewis, Terrence Marshall, Teddy Lehman. I mean, it goes all the way back to those guys, and it's the same at Clemson. You need Danny to finally step into that role. And I think the comment that stuck with everybody is he going to be the funny guy or is he going to be the leader?
Yeah, that got a lot of people excited.
Right. And so, and we still see the fun videos they're doing with him, interviewing guys, which is great. But when it comes time to be on that field, what Danny Stutzman are they going to get? Because I think that we've seen flashes from him of being a really good player, but can he be consistently great? And can he be the leader of that defense? Because again, I wasn't here, but it seemed like at times last year on that defense, they kind of lacked some of that leadership, or at least it wasn't coming from their best players. And I think that the great teams, your best players are your leaders. Again, that's no offense to Justin Broyles. I'm sure he's a great leader, but if he's your leader on defense, you probably have some issues.
I'm going to call the turnaround with Danny Stutzman official. Leadership engaged with Danny Stutzman. When I was chasing ambulances and bothering all the players who were crying inconsolably, I asked Danny, I said, "Hey, Danny, what happened?" And he's like, "Oh," he went very coach speak on me. He was like, "Oh, we just had a player. He's fine. Player go down, but he's fine now." So he totally blew me off.
That's good. That's leadership.
That's leadership. Yeah.
That's incredibly intense pressure you put on that kid in a tough moment.
I know. I feel so terrible about it. I mean, if only I could judge whether or not someone was approachable or not. It's nice when people that weren't there, though, that don't do their jobs, criticize you and paint the picture of an inconsolable crowd of players.
Oh. I mean, and you've never been responsible for an NCAA infraction. So
I've never been to prison either, so.
Oh, well, there's that as well. Yeah, there's, I think we're getting into the glass houses kind of thing. So.
Whopper.
I love that commercial even more now. So, I mean, it's going to be fun. A lot of stuff is going to be coming out of it. George being on board, we're kind of meeting this week to get all of our stories straight with George and Bob so they don't overlap. But I'm really looking forward to it.
Is there any interesting discussion to be done just as far as what they're doing at offensive tackle going in with how good they were a year ago? Obviously, replacing Anton Harrison is going to be important. It's going to be kind of interesting to see. They do have a lot of guys coming back at the same time. I'm just kind of interested to see
where does Guyton fit in, and
because obviously it's unfortunately for him, the kid from Stanford's
Rouse.
not, Walter Rouse isn't going to be available this spring. It's just there's going to be a little bit of a lot of movement there.
And that's the thing.
Jacob Sexton going to be back?
It's a good question. I saw him not too long ago, and I originally thought he had torn his ACL in the bowl game. I guess it's never really been confirmed.
It's never been addressed.
Yeah, it's never been talked
one
about.
way or another.
But I don't think he had surgery or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem with that in spring, and you could say this for almost every position in spring, because we're going to have a ton of guys that were like, oh, that guy looked great in spring, and then they do nothing next year. But the way
those are usually walk-ons, though.
Yeah, that's true. But the way that Bill operates is we won't really know what the offensive line is going to look like till week 4, week 5 of the season anyway.
He never has had the starting lineup on day 1 be the starting lineup on day 14.
Exactly,
but
week
14.
I do think it'll be interesting to see what does Savion Byrd look like. I mean, he had a great bowl game. He's someone I'm super intrigued about, and I want to talk to him. But guys like that, Andrew Rame, is he healthy? I mean, do we know if he's?
Well, he had that surgery, so I don't know.
He had it quickly, so you applaud that.
What I was told is the whole point of him having it at that point was so that he could go through spring practice.
Okay.
My understanding is that now you don't know how he's healed. I don't know anything beyond that, but I know the plan was that he was going to be part of spring ball.
But yeah, I mean, I think that this is also a time for Bill that you see typically, at least what I remember, is he kind of plays around with that offensive line, moves some guys around. So you might see some of that.
Well, that's the thing too. If you don't have Rouse, do you play Guyton more at right tackle, expecting him that to be his spot so he gets used to it, or do you work him at left just in case you want him to be able to play that? And maybe you think Rouse, maybe he could be better than Rouse.
I think it probably depends on Sexton's health. I mean, if they believe Sexton is healthy, then I would assume he would be out
Playing
there
left,
and you just work guiding it right. But again, I think there could be practices where Bill says, hey, you're going to work it right today, and then tomorrow you're going to work it left. Like that's the way Bill operates. And so I wouldn't take too much stock into, oh, this guy's playing this position, because by fall, we all know Bill will change it probably again.
I really want to see Jake Taylor get in there at some point. Like, I don't care where, just want him on the field.
By the way, you mentioned Bill's moves. Like, one of the ones that made the biggest impacts was when he put Ben Powers into the starting lineup. So congratulations to Ben Powers. He just got a new, what was it, 4-year deal?
Yes.
Yep.
52.
The accountant, as I termed him.
50, like 30 something was guaranteed. Was it 30 or was it 20 something? It was like 25 or 35 was guaranteed.
Yeah, it was up there. Yeah. I mean,
good day for him as well as it was for Obo.
Yeah, Obo, man, that's a huge deal.
12.5 guaranteed.
For a guy that you really haven't heard a lot from.
Apparently, I was reading up on him.
He did well with the Texans.
He did. At the end of the season, he was their best pass rusher. He had 5 sacks, I think, in their last 8 games. So he was really playing well.
He was always such a good dude too.
I feel like he's been undervalued at every level. Like in high school, he was the secondary thought to Rodney Prevost. At Oklahoma, it wasn't until late in his career everybody's like, "Oh, this guy's pretty damn good."
Well, he
kind of kept working.
He pretty much admitted that he was a knucklehead. The first 2 years
it
at
was
OU.
his fault.
Yes, he took full blame for how he developed at OU.
No, I don't mean like somebody did him wrong at OU. I just mean I don't think most people recognized how good he was most of the time at Oklahoma. Like if you ask most OU fans, I think they would tell you Eric Stryker was a better player, and I don't feel that way at all.
Obo single-handedly won 2016 Bedlam. Do you guys remember that game?
Yeah. In his last couple of years, he was just like Eric Stryker, where he was the only guy on the field that could get a pass rush. Like when they had to take him out of the game, you knew they had zero chance unless they were going to blitz everybody to get at the quarterback.
There was the Texas game where Texas was just holding him every damn play. And there was nothing
called.
His jersey was green.
Great
after the game.
Great post game photo of Obo on the field at the OU Texas game after that game.
Yeah, he was really good in 2017.
Yeah, so good for him. Good for all those guys. So
now let's bring Orlando Brown to the Bears. Thank you. All right, we're
surely he's going to get a huge deal somewhere, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Bob was saying earlier that it sounds like maybe the Bears are making some moves to try to get him, maybe to get somebody to protect Justin Fields.
I mean, I get it. It's not anything against him. It's just the Ravens we're seeing are a cheap organization. I mean, they're trying to save as much money as possible to probably pay, if not Lamar Jackson, somebody. But in the Chiefs, I mean, they've been cheap ever since they had to pay Mahomes. I mean, they let Tyreek Hill go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Baker ends up too. Seems like Tampa's the
right?
leading candidate, but who knows?
Okay, so here's the question. Did the Niners pick Sam Darnold over Baker?
You're the NFL guy, George.
I was about to say, I think he was probably cheaper, is what they ended up doing. I think, what it was, like an $8 million deal, something like that. I think Baker might get a little bit more money, and I think he'll also get a longer deal. So I think that they just said he was... I wouldn't say. I think it was just a cheaper pick, and I think
less
right
of
now,
a commitment.
I really like Baker, but Sam Darnold played well there at the end of the year for the Panthers. I mean, they won some football games, almost made the playoffs, and Baker played well for Los Angeles, but I don't think there's too much of a difference there between the two, and so they just said, let's just get the cheaper option. The 49ers are going to be really interesting to see what they end up doing. I don't think Trey Lance is going to be back. At least not fully healthy for a while. And then Brock Purdy, who knows?
I mean, has he even had his surgery yet?
Yes, he just did, in the last couple of days.
I mean, long term, though, you're probably, if you're Sam Darnold, you're getting paid $8 million to probably be the third-string quarterback when it's all said and done, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
but they've got to have somebody there at the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he'll probably start the season for him. But and maybe Baker had a role in this, too, where Baker wants to go somewhere that he won't end up being the backup.
The part-time guy, yeah.
Right. And so in Tampa would obviously, I mean, I would bet on Baker 10 times out of 10 to beat Kyle Trask in a competition. But, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The quarterback market is really odd. I mean, the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo, who I don't think is any better than Derek Carr.
No.
But he's a cheaper option, and that's why they ended up doing that. And, they're also not going to get Aaron Rodgers, it sounds like.
All right. So softball's going on, and Sooners getting back into the run rule ways a little bit. They had the Mississippi State series that they had to just win outright like a regular team. But Bob, a lot of big games coming up for softball.
Starting tonight, against Florida State. It's kind of funny how that worked out. The Seminoles go OSU over the weekend, and they let Patty know, hey, we'll come play you. It's spring break for us. You want us to come down Tuesday? It's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And Seminoles, I believe, are ranked number 7 going into this week, but just that rare occasion for an elite, top tier non-conference game to actually be in Norman. Patty is like super excited about what the environment. It's going to be a little chilly tonight, but what that atmosphere, what this type of chance can be for this team going forward. And it was another really nice weekend. Jordy Ball with the perfect game to begin it Friday. Had some struggles Sunday, so it's not like she's completely back to where she needs to be, but they just have been able to get contributions from just a different player every game. It's like you can't hone in on one or two because 3, 4, 5, 6 are right there ready to deliver in a second, and that's that's a credit to what Patty Gassol's been able to do in terms of the mental, physical prep, and the preparation that they have for every single game. That even if they're on the bench or something, they know their number could be called, and they know that they gotta deliver.
So I mean, the Jordy situation, like you said, no hitter, and then a little bit of up and down, like. I got to think, though, that her throwing that, I mean, it just gives Patty more options at pitcher because it sounds like, that they really, it's kind of playing out like they'd hope. Like, they have a bunch of people that they can trust.
Nicole May hasn't given up a run
She's
yet.
the best pitcher in the country right now.
I mean, she's been sensational.
43 innings, 0.0 ERA,
That's pretty
68
good.
strikeouts.
That's amazing.
To 13 walks. She's only allowed 18 hits, 7-0, 1 save. Batting average for the opponent, 129.
Yeah. Who do you think's going against Florida State tonight?
Patty was very coy about that when asked about it Monday evening, and with Alex and Nicole. I mean, and Jordy, you've got your choices. I think it'll be Storako. That's who I think will get the call tonight. But you're not wrong with any of the ones that you pick, and if it's not their best night, you can
switch quick.
You've got someone just waiting, just itching to get that chance.
All right, and Eddie baseball.
Yeah, they're playing well right now. 9-10. Got Wichita State on Tuesday night in Wichita, and then Big 12 play starts this weekend. Number 11 TCU coming to town, and I would think if you can win 2 or 3, you're probably going to start thinking about sneaking into the top 25 and. They're playing really well right now. Easton Carmichael, the freshman catcher, all he did this past week when OU went 5-0 was hit for 571 and drove in 13 runs. So he has been a little bit of a surprise, I think, offensively. He's really good defensively as well, and just kind of handling everything back there where Jimmy Crooks was really good for so long for Oklahoma. And, it probably didn't get talked about enough. I think we talked about it maybe in that Omaha pod a year ago. Carey was just, Skip trusted Jimmy so much. He was calling pitches.
Yeah,
and
love that.
You got a freshman in there now, and I think that he's a little bit mature, probably even for a freshman. But the freshman class as a whole has been really good, and then obviously the guys that they brought in through the transfer portal as well. So it's a good ball club. I think they're maybe even you could say a little bit ahead of schedule as far as what they're getting out of some of the guys. So. We shall see. Bryce Madron's starting to hit the ball really well. It should be a lot of fun here as Big 12 starts up this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, calling a game is such a learning process, and I think like when Jimmy Crooks was doing it, he'd been there for a long time. He knew his staff really well. He had really good pitchers, helps out too. But
it helps out when you're catching Jake Bennett, David Sandlin, and Cade Horton every weekend.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really about kind of learning the fundamentals, which is soft stuff away, hard stuff in. How you pitch lefties versus how you pitch righties. I mean, you never want to go down and in to a lefty because that's usually their natural swing. They'll jack it out on you. But there's all these little things you have to, and then you have to learn how to manage your pitcher. I mean, some pitchers, like, you don't want to call a certain thing, or if they're off early, like, you got to know how to kind of manage their mentality, and like it's a tricky thing. So I can understand not wanting to let a younger guy call pitches, but like I said, with Jimmy Crooks, he'd been there, he'd been through the battles, he knew that staff up and down. So yeah,
he was incredible. I haven't seen a whole lot from spring training, but I mean, he got a non-roster invite to go to the to camp with the Cardinals, so it'll be interesting. With Contreras there now, he's obviously not going to get called up or anything in the next couple years, but I think he's kind of what they hope is going to be the future at catcher for them.
Yeah, and you put something in the war room the other day about Cade Horton throwing BP, and he looked good. Really good.
Yes.
Looks really, really good.
You Cubs fans are just drooling, aren't you? Yeah, I mean, his breaking stuff looked nasty, like it always has.
Yeah, I don't think that, like, truly, most people do. I think most people do realize, like, what kind of meteoric rise he had last year. But I mean, the guy went from, not only did the team just in general go from not even possibly making the tournament to the World Series championship series, but Cade Horton was unhittable at times. I mean, I think I've seen some pretty good OU pitchers over the last couple of years with the arms that they've had, and the performance that he had on that Sunday night against Notre Dame in the winter bracket, winter bracket game. It was incredible. I mean, he was literally unhittable.
Well, and the thing is, like, if he had just been a decent pitcher and hadn't had that meteoric rise, like, he might be OU's best hitter this year if he was still around.
Yeah, he could swing it a little bit.
And he was only getting better. So.
Yeah, they kind of, I think once he started really ticking on the mound, they're like, okay, hey, man, you don't need to be grabbing a bat. But just like watching him hit BP at practice up in Omaha, I mean, he just would hit tank after tank after tank.
Yeah, he's just an amazing kid. I mean, really look forward to seeing him in the future. So, outside of that, I think, we talked a lot of spring football, led off with recruiting today. I can't really think of anything on my list. I don't know if you guys have anything you wanted to hit on before we get out of here.
No, I don't think so. I do need to say happy belated birthday. I have a coworker up at the radio station. His son is a big listener. So happy birthday, Gumbo. I was supposed to say it last week and completely forgot. That's on me. But yeah, happy birthday. Hope you have a good one.
All right. Well, it's fun having you all in the office, and we're getting close. By the way, I should tell you, the end of the week, that's the plan. We have our first batch of shirts that are in that are going to be, what it's going to be is, we're selling the shirts and we're taking all the money. We're building a war chest for softball NIL. So all of these shirts, we're not keeping any money from them, other than to pay the cost of printing them. So we'll be having those online at SoonerScoopStore.com by the end of the week. Working hard to get them up right now. It's a little bit of a process to do that with a brand new item, but Eddie and I will have those puppies up, and they look awesome. They might be the best T-shirt we've ever done.
It's up there. I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty partial to the U40 helmet.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
I think that these are going to be big hits.
And still got plenty of Lindsay Street stuff in stock. So, we're not making any money off of these. It's all going to softball, but it wouldn't hurt if you wanted to buy something else from the store that maybe we do make some money off of. So, anyway, appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back again next week as spring practice gets underway. We'll figure out exactly what day the pod will be. We might wait a day if we have a chance to view the play, view practices before we pod. So we'll figure that all out. But lots of great coverage coming from George, Bob, Eddie, with all the video, and Josh will have you recruit. Sure, a lot of recruits will be coming in and out of Norman, watching some practices as well. So thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com.